All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, we are going to talk about how to boost your productivity with the CRM for Google. That would be us, ProsperWorks. My name is Erin, and I am our product marketing manager here at ProsperWorks. And then I am joined today by two of my favorite coworkers here. First is Ursula Shekufenda. She is our product manager, and Jordan Lujan, who's a senior account executive here. Ursula, her favorite part of the job is talking with customers, which is really helpful as a product manager. She also recently worked on the email templates and bulk email feature that hopefully you all have had a chance to test drive. If not, we'll be covering a little bit of that today. She's also incredibly language talented. She's fluent in Italian, English, and Spanish, and learning German. Jordan was the sixth sales hire of, we've had about 60 sales reps here, and he was number 6 on the list, so he has seen it all. He's hit quoted 21 out of the last 22 months, and fun fact about him is his cornhole team is currently ranked number 1 in the San Francisco League. So if you all need pointers, he's your guy.
Look at you.
All right, so for a quick agenda, in a minute, am going to pass it off to Jordan to give you folks who aren't as familiar with ProsperWorks a quick overview of who we are and what we do. And then we'll be diving into our Google integration. There's 7 key components that we're going to run over, and along with those, we'll explain what it is and then kind of explain how you can take it to the next level. And just a quick reminder, we're going to run through the entire presentation and hold questions until the end. If a question does come up during the presentation, please feel free to throw it into the GoToWebinar questions panel on your screen, and we will get through as many of those as we can. And if something comes up after the webinar, definitely feel free to email info@ProsperWorks with questions that come up. And just to answer those questions up front, we will be recording this and sending out a broadcast afterwards. All right, and now I'm going to hand it off to Jordan, and he's going to give you guys a rundown of what ProsperWorks is.
All right, good morning, everyone. So yeah, ProsperWorks. I guess for those of you unfamiliar with ProsperWorks so far, we are a CRM software company. Really what we're trying to do is organize business contacts, allow you guys to have some better tracking for what kind of communication you've had with those contacts, in terms of emails, general phone calls, notes, that kind of thing. And then from there, have some extra details for when the last time you met with someone was. Do you have any open, I guess, business opportunities to work with that particular individual or company? And that's really what we're trying to do, high level. Ultimately, CRM is really trying to do kind of 3, I guess, standard things up front. It's trying to organize information, like I just spoke about. It's also trying to standardize the process that your team follows with that information. And then from there, have some kind of reporting to be able to fine-tune that process over time. So ProsperWorks certainly does those things, but what really, I guess, makes us stand out above the rest is that we are built specifically for G Suite. So if your company has already invested into Google and your team already leverages applications like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, our software is connecting directly to those applications, and we're actually automating the way that information from those applications goes back into the software, like emails, appointment times, and amongst other things. So I think that high level, that's what we do, and we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the Google integration in just a second.
Cool. Ursula here, ready to dive in, and the first boost we'll cover is related to emails. The ProsperWorks extension is a browser extension built for Chrome to enhance your experience when reading your emails in Gmail by presenting additional information that is stored in ProsperWorks. So our extension was designed to save you from having to constantly switch tabs back and forth. And we understand you spend a lot of time in your inbox, so we wanted to bring the ProsperWorks information where you do your work and save you time. So for example, when you hover over an email address in your inbox or open an email, the extension will automatically load information about that contact, so you can see their details or any recent communication you or your colleague has had with that person. And this information can help you craft the best response possible. You can also update your opportunities, add new leads and contacts from the extension, and a lot more. Actually, Jordan here is an Extension Pro user, and he'll demo some of those features for you, and can also tell you about a new feature that we introduced that is also available on the extension today.
Yeah, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to hop into my actual inbox here. And this is actually one of my favorite parts of the ProsperWorks platform for a couple different reasons. Number one, I spend a lot of time in my inbox already, whether it's responding to emails from current prospects that I'm working with, or reaching out in some type of outbound campaign. But either way, the concept is whenever I get an email or a new contact that I'm adding to the system, I can very easily add that contact to the database. So just by opening up the email, I can determine whether I want to add this person as a normal contact or as a lead. And then ProsperWorks also integrates with a couple of data scraping services to help us get some extra information on who that person is. From there, I'll go ahead and quickly click Add to ProsperWorks so I have a solid understanding for who they are. And the best part is that the information actually goes directly into the CRM, meaning that I don't have to copy and paste that in manually, and obviously that makes me jump up and down for joy. So from there, if I go ahead and find someone that I have been working with, I can very easily search them in the CRM, or go ahead and pull up another email, and then this is where all of a sudden their profile pops up, just like Ursula was talking about. So here's their contact information here. And I'm sure you guys know by now that there's probably specific emails that you're sending on a daily basis just to different contacts. So we have built an email template feature, which as I'm right here, I can go ahead and select what template I want to go ahead and send this person. And then as I click on the template that I want, it'll go ahead and automatically populate this person's first name, his company name, and also the sender name. From there, I'll click this little checkbox here for email tracking. And this is a pretty cool feature as well, because it basically shows me when the recipient is opening and reading my email, except that person does not know that that email is tracked. So it's really, really useful on the sales side. If I'm sending out proposals, I see that 2 different prospects are reading my proposal email, but one's opened it up 15 times and the other person 0. I'm probably going to follow up with the 15 times person first. And on top of that, if I lost a deal for whatever reason in the past, but I see that old prospect is reading my email maybe 6 months later, that's a pretty clear indicator that I should pick up the phone and call that person. So in combination, these 2 features work out really, really well to boost just some efficiency within your day-to-day process.
Excellent. One thing to note is that Jordan here demoed it on Gmail, but some of you might prefer Inbox instead, and rest assured that the extension is also available on Inbox. Mm-hmm. Another tool that we just released alongside Google is the Gmail add-on. It is a simpler version of the extension, and this is just the first iteration, but we will continue to evolve it as Google makes updates. Also, there is one advantage to note about the add-on, right, Jordan? So the extension is available on Chrome. Can you tell us a little bit about the add-on?
Yeah, so there was a new Gmail add-on that we released. ProsperWorks was one of the only CRM companies to be able to release one of these, which is really awesome. And I guess one of my favorite parts about the add-on is that it can integrate, both while I'm working out of Chrome as well as on my mobile phone. So, with that said, it's still in kind of its first iterations. There's a couple things that we can't do yet. However, in terms of just having the ability to quickly add a contact or add a task or log an activity, it's something that's super helpful for me when I'm not in front of my computer.
Yeah. So going back to the switch, having to switch back and forth between tabs, on your mobile, on the Android device, for example, if you open up an email on Gmail, you can actually pull information from ProsperWorks right within Gmail on your Android. So you don't have to switch apps back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You heard Jordan say earlier that he jumps up and down with joy when he doesn't have to enter information manually. When starting with a new CRM, you're usually faced with the daunting task of updating all records with the most up-to-date information. Now, as you've seen, we make that easy in a few ways, and one of them is automatically syncing your emails into ProsperWorks. So when you add a contact in ProsperWorks, you'll notice that the activity log will begin populating with previous communications you and other users have had with that contact. So you can get the entire picture very quickly. The email ingestion goes as far back as 3 months or 3,000 emails per contact, whichever comes first. And that's during your initial data import. And then if you add contacts thereafter, ProsperWorks will scrape 1 year's worth of emails. Then an email exchange after that can be synced into ProsperWorks without you having to remember to BCC a special email address into your email. So let's talk about the next level experience, Jordan. Why is it so great for managers, for example?
Yeah, so the fact that ProsperWorks is automatically syncing this email history specifically for contacts you want to get in the CRM is really huge for a manager for a multitude of purposes. I think that the first and foremost is that really it's extremely helpful for dispute resolution. So if I've added a contact to ProsperWorks, we've effectively added one contact and a company record. And ultimately, if I have a lot of interactions with these individuals, whether it's emails, phone calls, or what have you, if anyone is ever out sick or on vacation, maternity leave, or ends up leaving the business altogether, the manager can still pull up that record in the CRM and have accurate data quality for what has historically been communicated to that particular account. That's also going to be extremely important when you're ramping new employees. Just in case you do need to hand off an account to someone else, they have a very clear record for what's been communicated, so you're making life just a little bit easier on everyone involved.
Excellent. Another advantage of the email scraping functionality is that ProsperWorks can identify contacts you have not yet saved in the system and suggest that you add them. So when ProsperWorks suggests a contact to be added, it also offers additional details based on social media profiles or their email signatures, so you don't have to invest the time to search, copy, and paste information into ProsperWorks, and that's something that Jordan showed you guys a little bit ago. If you rely on Google Contacts, you also have the option to sync ProsperWorks contacts to Google Contacts. And Jordan, for those listening who may not be already familiar with this functionality but are looking for next level tips, what would you recommend?
Yeah, so I guess in terms of the CRM automatically identifying contacts that it recommends you should be adding to the database, that's extremely huge just in the event that maybe you had a long day and you forgot to put someone into the CRM already. So you come into work the next day and all of a sudden ProsperWorks is suggesting that you add this contact to the database. I mean, that's extremely helpful just for any end user in general. Because those type of reminders help us get this information into the CRM. That makes our managers happy, right? Whenever they need to reference the history for the dispute resolution that we spoke about earlier, just general interaction history. But one way to take it, I guess, next level with ProsperWorks, not only are we reminding you to add contacts who you've forgotten to add, but we can also set up rules into the database, which we call automated actions or task automation. So an example rule could be, hey, if I added this lead to the system, but I haven't been in touch with this lead in longer than, let's just say, 7 days, then ProsperWorks will automatically identify which lead is starting to go inactive and will send you a notification to follow up with that person in particular. So in combination, those two features right there, again, reminding you to add someone you forgot to add, and having just this kind of blanket rule operating in the background to help you, excuse me, stay in contact with those people more frequently is going to help you with your reach out.
Cool. Beyond just field data or communication, you may be interested in accessing important documents from ProsperWorks as well. So that's why we've built an integration with Google Docs. For any contact, opportunity, company, or project, you can link Google Drive files, which will then make it easier to access things like contracts, reporting sheets, documents, or presentations. And one thing to note is that Google Team Drive is increasing in popularity. So Google Team Drive provides a central place for teams to store documents that are then more easily shared and can be still accessed even once the owner of a document, for example, leaves the company. And a lot of our users have been asking for us to include Google Team Drive with our files integration, and we were actually able to deliver that enhancement just a few weeks ago. So this functionality helps with managing your files, but if you want to use ProsperWorks data to create reports or presentations, can we do that, Jordan?
Yeah, so what you can do is actually, as you're operating in ProsperWorks, you can go ahead and pull up an opportunity or a deal that maybe you're working on. And we actually integrate with Google Slides. So information from the data that you've input for the deal can actually populate back into a Google Slide, perhaps pitch document or template that you've already created for the company. On top of that, a lot of times, as I spoke about earlier in the presentation, you're trying to leverage the data that's inside of the CRM for reporting in a multitude of ways. If there's a report that ProsperWorks doesn't have out of the box, what we can do is actually go ahead and export information from the CRM into a Google Sheet so that you can create your own custom reports. And I think that
I want to see it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and show you guys.
I don't believe you.
So bear with me one second, guys. Let's go ahead and show you this Google Sheets integration first. So again, if there's a report that we don't have, I would be able to go over to Google Sheets. I can come over here to import data. All right, so now that this is pulling in, or it's actually syncing with my ProsperWorks account that I have, and I would just go ahead and select what information I want to populate into the sheet. So maybe opportunities from the sales pipeline, and maybe specifically that were won in November, and then I just click import. Now ProsperWorks is grabbing that data from the CRM and populating it into the sheet. And as you guys can see, it's super simple user experience. It doesn't take very long at all, just depending on the size of the information you're trying to bring in. But right here, it says ID, the value, wide variety of fields that you guys will be able to create these pivot tables off of, and it's as easy as that. If I were operating out of the pipeline view, right, and as Ursula said, we can go ahead and leverage perhaps a templated Google Slides doc, right? Then I would be able to come over here, files, and then merge that data over into a Google Slide. So just another simple way to get information into these other applications that we're already leveraging with G Suite.
Excellent. So there is one more great integration that we have not yet talked about, Google Calendar. So Google Calendar events with attendees that match contacts in ProsperWorks will sync into ProsperWorks, and tasks created from ProsperWorks show up on your calendar. So this means that you don't have to flip back and forth between ProsperWorks and Google Calendar. And Jordan can tell us where you can find your calendar information in ProsperWorks.
Yeah, so there's a couple different places that we're going to be able to see this. I'm going to hop back into ProsperWorks for us here. Give me 1 second, guys. And let's see. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and go to my dashboard. So whenever you log into ProsperWorks, if you're not operating out of your Gmail account, then what's going to happen right when you log in is that ProsperWorks is going to take you actually to your dashboard for the day. So that's where I'll come over here to the dashboard. Bear with me 1 second, guys. This is loading. And over on the right-hand side is going to show me the tasks that I need to complete for today, as well as the different appointments that I've had. So as I'm inside of the CRM, I can still complete these tasks, right, which then reflect across the rest of the CRM for yourself and any other managers. But ultimately, I just get a quick snapshot for what I have going on in my day. If I am working outside of my inbox, then I would be able to come over here. Let's say for this person, if I need to schedule an appointment, then I just go ahead and pull up calendar events. We do automatically bring in old appointment history as well for a record. So if I click on the plus sign there, I can just quickly schedule an appointment, a brand new appointment with someone new as well. So wide variety of, I guess, use cases for you and your Google Calendar. But I think the bigger picture here is that there is the two-way sync between these two applications.
And one thing to note is that when you add a contact, we'll look back 30 days at any calendar events you've had with that person, and then we look forward 30 days so you can see what happened in the past and anything scheduled for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Great. One key advantage of these integrations is that they simplify the implementation process. So when you get started with ProsperWorks, a lot of the data entry is eliminated. And beyond that, setup is very easy, and we recommend you focus on setting up your preferred visibility of the data, configure your data structure, so fields and so on, set up your workflows, and then you can dig into reporting and other possible integrations. So I'm actually curious, Jordan, when it comes to data entry, what are some of the things that clients usually are impressed by or that are noteworthy?
Definitely. So I think a couple things that we spoke about already, which typically impress our users, is hey, right when I add a contact, ProsperWorks is automatically finding extra information on both the contact and the company. So I get this quick snapshot for these individuals I'm adding to the CRM. We then spoke about how the fact we automatically will populate old email history that you've had with that contact. So for example, if you were to go ahead and complete a data import and you're uploading in bulk, all of a sudden when you go into ProsperWorks, once the import has been completed, you have a really solid profile for all historical communication you've had with someone and maybe some additional details that you didn't even know about beforehand. So definitely something that's super helpful just during the import process itself. It's very, very simple to import data into our system, whether you're doing it through an Excel spreadsheet or maybe you want to import directly from your Google Contacts. So either are options. I think that on top of that, with other CRMs out there right now, there's usually kind of like a scary moment when you decide that you're going to jump on board with the new CRM. And then there's this crazy implementation process that's also going to cost you money, and usually takes a long time, multiple months to go ahead and get up and running. But with us, we typically have a 30-day kind of launch rollout program. Sometimes our clients are able even to finish that beforehand. But I think the biggest thing is that there's no actual consultant fees that you need to worry about on top of the actual subscription of ProsperWorks as well. So you go ahead and you get signed up for a subscription. Just depending on, I guess, the size of your team, we have different methods in which we want to go ahead and onboard you guys. But the bigger picture is it's super easy to go ahead and get set up since we're turnkey with G Suite.
This webinar should have been called Boost Productivity and Your Daily Workout too, because you'd just be jumping up and down.
Yeah.
So one of the things that users cite most often as being the reason why they love ProsperWorks so much is the design and ease of use. They love the fact that it takes almost no training to get new employees up and running with the CRM. And if you've ever wondered why ProsperWorks is so easy to use, one of the reasons is that the UI uses material design, which was developed by Google and likely already very familiar to you since it is also applied to the G Suite tools that you already use. The great thing about material design is that it synthesizes good design principles where colors, shadows, space, movements can help users identify how to interact with the app. So bottom line, if you can use Gmail, you can easily figure out how to use ProsperWorks. And we hear that from clients all the time, but they love.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, I think that if you're interested in checking out a demo following this, please get in touch with us. Outside of that, I always recommend looking at customer reviews as well. So the G Suite Marketplace is definitely a good place to check those out. That's usually where I point my prospects to go ahead and look at ProsperWorks. But ultimately, as Ursula was saying, because we follow Google Material Design, really just speaks to ramp time. Your employees are already going to be familiar with a lot of the terminology we use, a lot of the same icons, so they're going to be able to pick us up quickly.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great. All right. Well, thank you two so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us. It was great to get a deeper dive into our Google integration. We're going to open it up now for questions. I've seen a handful come in throughout the webinar, but now is your chance. If you did have a question that came up, throw it into the questions panel of the GoToWebinar panel, and we are going to take a couple minutes to get through questions. If we don't have a chance to get through all of them, feel free to email info@prosperworks.com, and we will, just as a reminder, be sending out a recording of this session shortly after we wrap up here. So, all right. I'll give it just 1 minute for a handful of questions to keep rolling in.
I mean, it's an extension, it's not ProsperWorks.
Okay, so the first question, I think this is when you might have been demoing the extension, Jordan, but a couple of users noticed that you use Boomerang. And there was a question that said, do you need Boomerang in order for email tracking to work, from Wendy?
Good question. So, no, you actually don't need to have Boomerang at all in order for email tracking to work. Email tracking is actually a ProsperWorks. It's a feature that ProsperWorks has. So those two are not dependent upon each other. The one nice part, though, is that even though I'm using ProsperWorks, I can still use other Google Chrome applications that I like to use to be able to have all of the different, I guess, sales tools that I need. So that's another advantage, I guess, of us just being so integrated with Google and Google Chrome.
Awesome. This one I will pass to Ursula. When creating a new contact and don't have an email from this contact, can it similarly pull data from other sources, like you mentioned, the web scraping from LinkedIn and other social media websites, to pre-populate fields?
That's a good question. The email address is the unique identifier, so to be able to give you good data, we need it to figure out where that person is working and pull information from LinkedIn. If it's for a company, we actually go through the same scraping process as long as we have the website domain address.
All right, and Michelle asks, I do all of my work out of my personal Gmail account with send as set up for my business email. Also, my business email address is forwarded to my Gmail. How does this affect how this CRM works?
That's a good question. So your ProsperWorks will be associated with one of your email addresses. If you want to use functionality like the templates and want to use templates and need to be able to define which address they're sending from, the extension is your friend. So rather than sending a template directly from ProsperWorks, you can send it from the extension, and then you can define which sender address you wanna use.
Zachary is asking, how did you do the quick import on Google Sheets again? Was it through an extension?
Yeah, so that's actually an add-on for Google Sheets. So Zach, you're going to want to go into Google Sheets, open up a new sheet, go to add-ons, and then from there, I believe it's manage add-ons or get add-ons, and then just search ProsperWorks and get that connected to your account. If you want to reach out to us, if you can't figure it out, we're more than happy to go ahead and send you a support article that we have for it.
Next question comes from Eric, and he says, when you close out a task, can you set ProsperWorks up so you have to make a comment to close it?
Interesting. So we've heard this request quite a bit, and actually a few weeks ago we released a feature that will allow you to log an activity whenever you complete a task. Now, two key things. The task needs to be associated to a contact, to a record, and you have to have the activity type set to something other than just to do. So if you have a task that has an activity type of phone call, for example, and you have to call Erin, when you complete that task, it will pop up a message that will ask you to add notes about that phone call, and those notes will then be logged for Erin's record. Hope that helps.
Cool. And then Valerie is curious, where do you go to add Google integrations? I know, Jordan, you had mentioned with the Sheets add-on, you would go to the G Suite Marketplace. Where would you go to, set up the extension and anything else we've touched on today?
Yeah. So Valerie, I think that a couple things. If you already have a Gmail that you're working out of, whether it's personal or for your business, the first thing you're going to want to do is start a ProsperWorks trial so that you can get the ProsperWorks Chrome extension that lives inside of your inbox downloaded. So that would probably be the first step. And then from there, as you start a ProsperWorks trial, that's when we go ahead and ask if it's okay to connect to the rest of your Google apps that we spoke about, like Google Calendar, Google Drive, and there's the additional ones like Sheets and Contacts, etc. But the first step, I would say, is probably starting a trial. And if you have any issues with that, or if you want to do that, we're happy to reach out to you after the call.
All right.
There's a couple of questions about Outlook, and we don't integrate with Outlook at this time, but love to hear the feedback. So right now, most of the functionality that we went, or all of the functionality we went over is really related to the Google and G Suite apps.
One thing I would just regarding Outlook, though, is if you guys are using Outlook and your company is leveraging Google in the background, you're just leveraging the Outlook interface, that's definitely, it's kind of a little bit more of a unique conversation. I think that would require a demo to show you how that would actually be set up in your environment. But yeah, certainly something that we have clients doing right now, and a conversation to have if you guys are still interested.
Judy is curious about the cost of ProsperWorks.
The cost of ProsperWorks. So I guess it depends, Judy, on what type of functionality your team or yourself is looking for. We do have multiple plans ranging anywhere from $19 per user per month all the way to $119 per user per month. So again, it just depends on what feature set you want, what's going to make the most sense for you right now given where you're at with your business, how many users you have, and ultimately timing as well. So if you're interested, let us know and we can contact you again after the call.
And then to dovetail nicely off of that, Tiffany's curious if there's a trial period for ProsperWorks.
There is. So there is a 2-week free trial of ProsperWorks. Typically what happens is that we will go ahead and have one of our team members reach out to you to set up a demo time so that we can show you how ProsperWorks is meant to operate, talk about obviously the product in a little more detail. And then from there, that's when you would go throughout the trial period. We'd probably schedule a session to sync up with you midway, help, I guess, answer questions. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is just get you guys an answer on the database within your time frame, whether that's yes or no. So yeah, the trial period is 14 days, and usually we go ahead and schedule a demo for it.
All right. Scott would like to know, where is the email tracking report?
So there is an email tracking report. It is in either Gmail, so if you're operating out of the Chrome extension that we showed a little earlier, or if you're in ProsperWorks.com, you would just open up the ProsperWorks menu, and then there is a section in the menu called My Tracked Emails. This is going to show you all of your, I guess, tracked emails that you've sent, so both opened and unopened, and then we can specifically filter for all opened emails as well for you guys. So it's in the menu of ProsperWorks.
All right. The business surgeon is curious about circling back to Google Calendar again. How does he sync ProsperWorks with it? Does it work if you just sync your Gmail account? Is your Google Calendar good to go, or is there anything special you need to do there?
So when you start a trial of ProsperWorks, what happens from the onset is we basically are connecting directly to your G Suite account or your Google account. So there's a couple permissions that we ask for, which ties into Google Sync, which basically, again, is going to be Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, really all of those applications that you're already leveraging. So when you start a trial and you allow us to connect to those applications, that's pretty much it. We're connected outside of just you having to add that Google Chrome extension. From there, you can schedule tasks and they automatically sync, or schedule appointments and you still have that automatic sync as well.
Cool. Jeffrey would like to know, does your software integrate with VoIP services?
We do. We integrate with RingCentral. So you can receive calls, make calls from ProsperWorks, and then log info, notes from after those calls to the appropriate records.
James is curious about what time frame of history is stored with email events, calendar events, anything that's synced into ProsperWorks.
So with emails, when you do the initial data import, we look back 3 months worth of emails, or 3,000 emails per contact, whichever comes first. And then if you just add a contact thereafter, we look back 1 year. With a calendar, we look back 30 days, and we look forward to the 30 days for calendar events. So if you had any meetings with a contact in the last 30 days, that will show up in ProsperWorks, and if you have any scheduled for the next 30 days, that will show up in ProsperWorks.
Tim is curious, in terms of best practice, how do you distinguish when to classify someone as a lead versus a potential customer?
Oh, that's a good question.
So I would think of a lead as a business card, right? So if you go to, let's just say, a conference, and you get, you make these new connections, but you get a business card. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to schedule a meeting, right? A qualification call to see if it makes sense to actually work with that person. But prior to the point where you actually have that first meeting, that's when I would consider someone a lead, in ProsperWorks anyway, the way we design the system, because you're still calling that person, you're emailing that person to try and set up a call. If someone is then qualified, that's when we would create what's called an opportunity for that person as well. So that hopefully helps distinguish the two different classifications we have. If you have any further questions on that, just let us know.
Gregory is curious to know, are you planning integration with Hangouts, Meet, or Chat?
Actually, yes. The Google team has been working on Hangouts, Meet. They have reached out to us asking if we'd be interested in building an integration with them and launch Hangouts Chat with them. So that's definitely something on our radar, and we'll be working closely with Google as they prepare for launch.
All right.
Lots of questions.
All right, yeah. And I think we probably have time for about one more. I just want to be sensitive to your guys' time. Let's see.
So there's some really good questions here related like automating bulk emails or other functionality that people are interested in. As a product manager, I'll just give my selfish plug and say that we love hearing your feedback or suggestions on how to improve the product. So if you go into our ProsperWorks user community, it's a pretty active community. You can search for ideas that other people have shared, and you can upvote them or comment, or you can post your own and just tell us what it is that you're looking for that can make your business better.
All right. Great. Well, I think we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much to Ursula and Jordan for spending the morning with us. Hope you all at home found, or I guess probably maybe at work, found this to be a helpful webinar. If, like I said, as I mentioned before, if you still have questions, feel free to reach out to info@prosperworks.com, and someone will definitely get back to you. And then we will also be sending out a recording of this later today so that you can review the presentation if you'd like to. And thanks everyone so much for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. I think I might actually have to end it. for us to go.